We're going to be talking about foxes, and this is Pastor Jeff, this is Jonah, KJ52, and we're talking about 20 things we wish we knew at 20.
Yeah.
And this comes from your innermost being of trying to help these young adults.
Well, what does the fox say?
And I fell for it.
I used to read the Song of Solomon, right? Like it was this instruction manual that I would be able to figure out what flock of goats and teeth like sheep and all these weird analogies of the Middle Eastern culture that I had no idea. But the one thing that I read all over and over was this little verse that says, catch for us the foxes that ruin the vineyard. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, it means nothing to me. I'm not a farmer. I don't know anything about that. But this guy basically said, for those in an agrarian society, that they would plant their crops, or in this case, probably a vineyard, and these little foxes would come in and ruin the vineyard.
Yeah.
So they weren't these big pests that they could chase down. They weren't like trying to kill some elephant or something like that. It wasn't an easily destroyable problem. That these were like little things, little problems. And I look back on my early marriage, my early dating years, and things like that. How many of my problems, my bigger problems, were just little problems compiled.
That got in there.
I would find myself arguing over the dumbest things with my wife.
That's never happened with
Whether
us.
the toilet seat was up, whether the toilet seat was down, whether you roll the toothpaste from the bottom or you don't, whether you do the dishes this way. I mean, these little dumb things that should never be like contentious issues were constantly
they do.
like the jump off point for a bigger fight.
Right. Because other things come up, right? The foxes introduce...
Yeah. And so if the vineyard is your relationship or your marriage or your dating life or your engagement, that there is always going to be little things that is unique to your vineyard. Little problems that are unique to yourself or that significant other in your life. And we forget that we both bring all kinds of wonderful baggage.
Right.
And it's not like my baggage is here and your baggage is there. It's like, here's the living room. We're going to dump all the baggage in the middle of the floor.
And try to sort it.
And try to sort it out. And now I'm mad because your dirty socks are on top of my shoes. This is all very, a lot of analogies here. But the point is that I had never identified what my foxes were. I was identifying what her foxes were. I was great at pointing out all her problems,
right,
all her character flaws, and that's not what the scripture says.
Yeah.
The scripture says, catch for us, you and I. This baggage is not my baggage and your baggage, it's our baggage. This relationship is not my relationship.
Now, if you can capture that, I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but that's so good. If you're in a relationship, exactly what Jonah said, it's not his or hers, it's ours. That's
our
just
problem.
Good.
Because my mentality, especially because I was an only child for almost 10 years of my life, and even then growing up with a half brother, and moving out at 18, I never really had I had a sibling, but I'm saying not in the traditional sense.
Right.
So I was very individualistic.
Yeah, because an 18-year-old shouldn't be beating up on an 8-year-old.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Shout out to my brother. I love you. But the point is that I was so individualistic. I was so self-starter. I was such an individual that I brought that into my marriage. And I put the same attitude. Now she, on the other hand, came from a family of 5.
Oh, so she's used to partnership.
Everything is partnership.
Doing everything
together.
Everything
is family. I used to come to her house just to hang out because they would have no TV in the living room and they would sit around and talk. And it was so foreign to me that a family would sit with no television on and just talk about things. I would just sit there quietly. If they thought I had a problem, I would just be like, no, I just really enjoy this.
No, just keep talking.
They had 3 dogs, 2 cats. I mean, her mom darn near adopted the whole entire neighborhood. So I realized my mentality was me.
But isn't that interesting? Even though you were an individual, there was part of you that desired the family.
Absolutely. But with her coming from a large family brings this different set of problems. Me coming from an individualistic household brings a different set of problems. Yet the reality is that's all our foxes. Mm-hmm. I was always like, I'm going to take care of my thing, you take care of your thing, we're going to be fine. Nope. Doesn't work like that.
Yep.
And it's literally saying, make a plan to go get these foxes.
Work together.
I also had to realize, growing up like in the city, moving to Cape Coral, where there are animals abound. We had this raccoon that would live right next to our house that would just come out and bang on the window and like mess with my cat, right? And it would just like do this, and the cat would get mad and all this stuff. I had no idea how to catch a raccoon. I've never caught any animal in my life outside of like, Long John Silver's fish fillet on my plate. So I'm out there trying to catch this raccoon with no clue how to catch it.
You went after the raccoon?
Absolutely. First I called animal control. They're like, that's not our problem. Click. And I had to realize that like there was a certain way I had to catch that raccoon. I had to go buy this certain net and put the certain food and put it out, and then I had to There was a process to catching that animal. There is a process
that you had to learn.
That I had to learn. I had to learn. It was a skill set I did not have.
It wasn't just natural.
And there is a process to catching your foxes. You have to identify them. You have to go after them, and then you together have to identify them and go after them. And now's the time to start.
That's
in
your
good.
20s. Good. Just remember, we're all messed up, right? We got
Yes.
good things, bad things. We come together, and if you take the one thing out of this for the rest of your life, in your relationships, especially your dating and marriage relationships, if you do it together. Now, I'm talking about everything together, but we're talking about the foxes right
the
now.
foxes.
That you take care of these bad things. That it's not his or her problem. These are our problems. Let's work through it and communicate. So that's really good stuff. In your groups, why don't you go back, start talking about things that can rise up, foxes that can get involved in relationships and things, and enjoy your time. Be kind. We'll chat with you later.